going down. Tired of myself, tired of this town.
Eminent Waste of Time, episode 62. I'm Doug.
And I'm Chad.
And I'm Cody.
And I'm Matt.
We've got a full house today for our very first podcast from the new studio.
Yep. It's
The banner is hung the right way. We didn't hang it upside down. We haven't
not been overthrown yet. That was...
But you know, if there's ever another podcast that, I mean, both of us can't be there for, let's say, you know, Cody and Steve do one.
Flip the banner.
Flip the banner. That's how you'll know.
Okay.
But this is it. This is the beginning of season 2, the beginning of working at our new digs.
Yeah. So...
It feels weird.
It does.
It's kind of surreal. It's actually...
There's not cats running under your feet?
They're
like
not cats. Nobody's trying to poison me with horrible feline diseases.
There's not a refrigerator in the background.
No
No.
Well, there's one out there. It's my
It's really in the background.
still.
It's in a different room. But no, we had Cody and Matt agree to come out today and
They're our special guests.
shoot
We
the bull
hinted
with
about
us.
it.
They are very, very special people.
Like Short Bus.
Short bus special.
Aren't we all?
So, welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Thanks
making
a
the
lot.
trip, both of
Yeah.
you.
Super nice. Like the new studio is awesome. I really like it.
We
Well,
try.
we're really fortunate, honestly. I can't say thank you enough to everybody that contributed to the cause. Chad, I speak for you, I think as well, really humbled that you guys would give your hard-earned dollars to this, and it did make a big difference in us being able to complete it in a timely fashion without our spouses leaving us.
Murdering me.
You're going to build a room for what now?
It's a cage. It's a cage for me.
Exactly.
Be happy.
I'm thinking about putting my in-laws out here when they come to visit, because then they're out like in the barn.
Why is the lock on the outside of the door, Doug?
No, I did. Don't worry about it. It's for your own safety. But no, we got a ton of stuff to cover, and yeah, I'm excited to be here.
I'm
it feels
glad.
good.
Yeah. It's exciting.
So Matt, you had to make a trek back in. You were decidedly out of town and flew in just for this, right?
Yep, I just got back in town and thought I'd wander over here. I almost didn't make it, but I got here.
Appreciate the effort.
Yeah,
You almost had a good excuse to avoid us.
I know. Yeah, I almost got stuck in Las Vegas, so. But I made it.
Yeah.
And Cody, yeah, work stuff.
Work. Yep, I installed digital LED signs, so.
Did they have signs in Las Vegas?
A few.
A couple? Yeah,
Few,
okay.
Yeah.
You weren't doing anything fun like, Best in the Desert. Is that this coming weekend? Is that right?
Yeah, they just raced on Saturday.
Yeah.
And it was about, I think it was 4 hours outside of Vegas. So I didn't make it over there. They said that on one of the roads leading into the place, they were blasting and there was an all-day delay. So if you didn't make it before they started blasting, you weren't going to make it to the race.
Nice.
So,
If it was closer, you'd have been there, huh?
yeah, I actually thought about it and I was like, man, I don't know. But I ended up making it home, so.
You came back, skipped Best in the Desert just for us. That's
Yep,
what we're going to go
yep.
with.
Best in the desert for worst in Indiana.
Yep, that's what we got.
Perfect. And Cody, we appreciate you making the trek from Effingham.
Yeah. Didn't have much to do today. I spent most of the afternoon laying on Chad's couch watching him.
We were watching some.
If there is literally nothing else to do, then I'll
wish-
show up for the podcast.
I wish that I'd known you were coming from there. I would have just had you pick me up on your way.
could've done
made
that.
a drive.
Yeah, that's true.
I was in Crawfordsville, so
Oh, yeah. Definitely could have done that.
that's all right.
So,
Well, I suppose the big news that everybody's really...
we have news.
We do. Well, not our personal. I mean, the studio is the news for us. But
Okay, I
the
was
big,
trying to
the
think
big,
of what-
no, the big topic that everybody's kind of a buzz
Oh.
about right now is the Honda Talon.
Yes.
And again, I'm going to eat a little bit of crow because I said I'll be completely surprised if this actually happens, and it did. And I said I'll be really surprised if they actually named it the Talon because it's been rumored being that name for 3 years now.
Yeah.
So you would have figured that was just some sort of internal code word or something like that. But no, it actually is the Talon.
It is. So
We gave a first impression video. We spent about 25 minutes pontificating, and
yeah.
we actually beat Side by Side blog to the punch.
Well, that's because they don't know that Windows 10 updates automatically, and lo and behold, it takes an hour sometimes.
I'm going to take whatever I can get at this point. If
Yeah.
it takes Windows updates to make things work, then in our favor, I'm completely fine with that. But I was really curious. Both of you guys obviously very into side by sides. You've kind of got the market cornered on Polaris stuff, and you've been a Can-Am racer for a number of years now, and just initial impressions. What do you think of what you're seeing?
So one thing for me that you guys really don't know is I'm probably like one of 300 in the United States that's a red level Honda certified technician. So my background is all Honda. I've done all the Honda training schools, so I've
You've been around one or two.
Yes, exactly. I was a flat out Honda guy, before the Polaris Razor thing, and the reason I went that way is because Honda just flat didn't offer anything. Will I sell my Razor and buy one? Absolutely not. They did it. They're in the industry. We'll see what comes from here. I think price point's going to have a lot to do with what they do in sales. I see Honda coming out with a tall price point, which I don't think that's necessarily the right move to make to get into the industry. There's some things I like about it. There's some things I dislike about it, but it's definitely a step in the right direction for them. Probably one of the biggest dislikes I have is the whole creature comfort thing. There's not even hardly a blink. There's not a spot on the dash I can even see for a light bar switch or an accessory switch of any kind at all. I think that it would be maybe a decent machine for somebody that wants to run the entry level class to get in to buy a side by side and take it from the dealership straight to the racetrack. Maybe it would be an okay machine. I think it's going to be very reliable. Honda's always been known for that. So,
especially somebody who's not real familiar with belts and that kind of stuff and machine. It's a gear driven transmission, and
exactly. It's almost it's that machine that you can buy. That's not going to be the best machine, but you could go racing with probably all year with very little expense as far as repairs.
Sure.
Except for hitting things.
Exactly.
That's where the experience really pays off. But
I think it'd be something that someone would get into. It's not going to be their end machine, but it'd be an easy way out of the box to go racing, depending what the price point is. I think the price point of this machine is going to really make or break whether it gets an industry heavy or not.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree. And honestly, the price point where it's looking like it's going to land is going to put it in double X territory, which is high for an NA machine. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be around the $20K mark.
That's my thought.
That's about where the Pioneer was at when it first came out. But I'm glad to see Honda has a machine that's a sport machine now. I wish that they had changed a few things about it, but it's still a Honda machine. I mean, I'm glad that they're in the market. Yeah. Am I going to buy one? No.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. More side-by-sides in the market is never bad, but I don't think anybody that's out there is going to sell the machine they've got to jump into unless, maybe they've got an old Razor 800 and they were just really due for an upgrade. Maybe they consider it, but I don't think anybody that's a serious player in the side-by-side game now that has a machine they like is going to jump ship.
I think what they're going to gain, they're definitely going to gain the Honda followers, the guys who are already brand loyal to Honda, because it's not a bad machine. No. It's not a completely underpowered, gutless thing. So they're going to get their Honda followers. And I think they'll get, I hate to say the older crowd, but they'll get the older crowd who want a trail ride, who don't want to maintain it, who aren't looking to buy clutch upgrades, who aren't looking to eke every bit of performance out. Yeah, it's got good shocks. I'm sure it rides pretty decent. The power is okay. I'll go through the things that I do like first, and then we'll come back and you guys can do the things you like and then the things we don't like. And I'm not here to bash it. It's just there's things I do and don't like about every machine.
Yeah. We're nothing if not honest.
Yeah. I do like the doors. They're like what I would call an 80% door. They have that little opening. I would like to see a little piece of something down there.
And I'm sure Honda has that.
Yeah, they do have an aftermarket door already that's the full, but I wish they would have just done it. Just give me that last little piece of plastic and we're good.
That was a sales piece.
Yeah.
I was going to
that's the accessory.
You can't sell it with everything on it.
I know.
That's why it doesn't come with light bars either.
I do like the shocks. The transmission I am not opposed to or I'm not a super fan of. The direct drive for what it is good because you can put it in automatic and it'll just shift for you. And for some people, that's exactly what they need. And if you want to bang gears with it, you can do that. They say that with the tune that they have in that ECU, it shifts 50% faster than the Pioneer transmission, which it needed. So
yeah, it was pretty sluggish before, and honestly, you want a hard, fast shift.
Yeah.
A sluggish, crappy shift is not doing you any favors.
That 4+ link on the rear end of the R, I don't know. I want to see how it rides. We'll see. I mean,
I looked at it. There's some weird stuff going on there.
Yeah,
that 4+ link, the 5th link is kind of wonky, but
yeah.
We'll see.
We'll see. That's why that one's kind of like I'm not for it or against it. It's there. We'll see what it does.
Yeah.
So, Cody, what are some of your pluses that you're looking at?
The pluses, they're here. They're in the industry finally.
Yeah.
They made it in the game. I think the styling is good. I don't hate the way it looks at all.
I like it better than the Double X.
Yes.
The Double X, the back end of the Double X looks like someone stuck a bathtub on the back of it, and it shouldn't be there. But
some of my perks would be not so much, horsepower and all that. I'm a creature comfort guy, especially on a trail machine. I like to be comfortable. I love how the seats are prepped for harnesses. Mm-hmm. The flip side of that is there's not the harness bar they have is wrapped in a piece of plastic already. So I don't know if there's going to be an accessory bar that you put on there. I really don't like how they didn't finish the bed around. The bed
it's open at the back.
It's open at the back.
Like the YXZ bed.
I'm sure that they'll have another Honda add-on that's a bar that goes back there.
But I really like the styling. I like the graphics. I think the wheel option from the factory looks good. I think it's a great out-of-the-box trail-ready machine. Mm-hmm. The horsepower is probably... It's there. I think they were shooting for over 100 and they hit that. I fear how much horsepower that transmission is going to rob. I can tell you one big plus over the Honda compared to anybody else is if it's anything like the Pioneer, it's going to have 2, if not 3 oil filters in that engine, and it's going to hold like 8 quarts of oil. So as far as engine reliability,
change it per season.
Yeah, there's a ton of oil capacity. So if you do get lack a little oil change or do get hot once or twice, there's more capacity of oil to not let the engine get hurt.
Yeah. Matt?
I think some of the things that they did on it are really cool. I'm glad that they're in the market, but I wish, I'm a racer, so I wish that they would have came out with a machine that was like 200 horsepower.
Right.
But they're not going to do that. It's Honda. I get it. It took them like 32 years to put disc brakes on their four-wheelers. So, but I was a diehard Honda guy when I raced four-wheelers and stuff, but I really like the look of the car. They could have changed a few things, but for their first car, I think it looks really good. I think they did a good job. The transmission, time will tell. I've had the pleasure of actually working on a Pioneer a few times, and there's nothing about working on those side-by-sides that's any fun. They didn't make them user-friendly. Just putting a winch on one was a nightmare. I mean, I spent like 8 hours putting a winch on a Pioneer once.
Oh, jeez.
And but I hope that the add-ons and stuff work out easy. I mean, I feel like that's like Polaris has that market cornered. Like their cars come and they're pretty much ready to bolt on anything you want. And it's easy.
Lots of switch blanks.
I think that they'll figure that out, but it'll be the second year, not the first year. There'll be a lot of changes. So,
Doug?
Which is kind of what we always say. Don't buy the first year. It's a little dodgy if you're going to do that. I definitely do like the way it looks. It actually looks like the early production shots we saw, which I didn't think it would. Honda typically isn't noted for their really aggressive styling on things. So I think that was a big win for them. Honestly, other than that, I'm not trying to be crappy. There's just not a lot I love about it. There's not a lot of it that I see, man, they've really revolutionized this, or I think this is going to be great. Definitely has a different rear suspension setup, both the narrow and the wider versions of them. They've got different rear suspension setups. Both of them are not. They use some industry standard practices and some that are, haven't seen that yet. We'll see how it holds up. And again, that's just it. Time's going to tell. I can't tell from looking at it and say that's going to ride great, that's going to ride terrible. The shock mounting location is interesting. I think in some ways it could be damage prone, especially in a race type of situation. It looks like possibly that shock is asking to be removed. I
feel like when you look at that trailing arm on the R, somebody was like, we need another inch of travel. And they were like, okay, well, let's move the mounting point from the top of the trailing arm where it should be to the side, which I'm sure they have the reasons. Honda, I mean,
they're not stupid.
They're not stupid.
They test everything to death.
They're really smart, and I'm sure that they've been testing this car for at least 4 years before they released it. So they know what the breaking points are. But until we actually get to drive one, like I'd love to drive one to see, just to see. But until we all get to drive one, it's a big guessing game.
And it's almost not fair for Honda when you're sitting at a table with a bunch of racers because we want a race.
Because we're looking at a totally different
style. It would never be good enough.
Yeah, well, they were actually at the Ironman about 6 years ago, and I was racing an old school Maverick non-turbo, and the Honda guys were walking around and they were asking all of the racers, if we were going to build a side-by-side and they had a whole sheet of all the things that, what would you want? And I sat there with the guy for about 30 minutes talking to him, and he was a real cool guy. And I was like, this needs fixed, and it needs to be a race-ready machine. But that was 6 years ago.
Yeah, that guy's probably not there anymore.
No, probably not. But it was an interesting experience just to run into some factory Honda guys wondering about the side-by-side industry.
Yeah. And obviously, you know, they do have a lot of race experience with other type of machines, both, you know, road course. Obviously, the TRX 450 has been dominant in the ATV world for decades now, it feels like.
Yeah.
So I do think it is going to be a reliable machine. That's probably one of my big pluses is, like you said, it's going to have 3 oil filters in it. It's going to be completely overbuilt. It's a single overhead cam design, so it's a pretty conservative, bulletproof design that they have a lot of, you know, experience with. So
I believe the motor's their enduro motorcycle motor, right?
It's a derivative of the Pioneer and the Africa. The Africa is their enduro.
Yeah.
And it's a derivative. They're both the Pioneer and the Africa are based on the same motor with just some tweakery done here and there.
So this thing is basically their love child.
It is.
and that is one thing that I talked to Chad about. Honda's such a huge company. They're in the automotive industry. They're in the powersports industry. They're in the lawn and garden industry. You know, at what point is Honda saying this is our focus? And I feel that industry is not their focus. If it was their focus, they would be.
They would already been in the market,
yes, exactly.
5 or 6 years ago.
I think there's just kind of, and I'm not saying this is just a money grab, but there is money to be made there because I'm sure they've had people beating down their door. Look, I've got all your power products. I've got a CBR 1000. I love your stuff. I want a UTV from you. And I'm sure they've had people beating down their door. So this is a chance to satisfy that segment of the market. And if I'm Honda, I probably don't have any illusions about taking over the market. But if people are willing to hand me money, I'm not going to tell them no.
Yeah. So one of the things you guys touched on, the shock mount location on the rear, I'm not a fan of that. I think that's going to be a problem in the long run.
Yeah, again, I could be wrong, but when I saw that, I was like, well, that's a choice.
Yeah. The rear suspension, we'll see what it's like. One of the major things that I do not like is their four-wheel drive system. It is basically based off automotive technology, and instead of, when it senses wheel slip, applying power to other wheels, it breaks the slipping wheel. So in the automotive industry...
It's like analog brakes.
It is exactly like that. So in the automotive industry, that's perfectly fine because 99% of a car's life is spent on dry pavement and it doesn't slip very much. You know, if you're driving a Honda Accord, how often are you doing burnouts and drifting it around the corner?
Unless it's a rental.
Yeah. But in a side-by-side, how often are you slipping?
I wonder how the feel of the pedal is going to be when it does that. Are you going to feel it just like you do in analog brakes? Like if you're on the brakes and then you get back in the gas and it slips?
It shouldn't, because what it's actually doing is it's braking under acceleration. It's not doing it as an anti-lock brake. So you shouldn't feel it in the pedal. So
this isn't like, you know, a lot of people think of normally the four-wheel drive, it senses slippage, it locks the diff.
Right.
And now you've got power to both wheels.
No,
this is an open diff, and it's grabbing the wheel that's slipping, so it's forcing...
But they said it has a locker, right? A front locker. Isn't that what they said? It was a selectable front locker?
That's this four-wheel drive. That's what this is.
It's all of it.
It applies brake pad pressure. It is literally in the caliper that it applies pressure.
What I fear of that is what it's going to do under an extreme driving situation, how anybody at this table would drive. I mean, I just see
within 10 minutes of being
I see brake fade. I mean, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know. You beat on a machine hard, the brakes fade away.
Your brakes are just not going to. The pads aren't going to last.
No, they're not going to last any time. But I don't think...
Especially you've admitted you are a brake-heavy driver.
Yes,
you will brake as late as possible and just cram them to the floor. Yep. So for you, that's not going to work.
Maybe I'm the same.
Well, they haven't really posted any pictures of what the brakes look like, or I've saw the naked picture of the car, but not up close pictures of the
rotors this big around.
No.
I think we'll get a sneak peek at PRI that there's one there.
I hope there is. I don't know.
Hoping...
Honda doesn't really... They didn't make an appearance last year at PRI. They're not really an aftermarket, and PRI is a lot of performance racing.
It's a lot of drag racing stuff.
It's dirt car and drag racing, and there's a fair amount of off-road kind of making its way in. But
I think we may have seen like a Formula One, Honda-powered car there, but that was a team's car. It wasn't Honda.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll just see what it does. I'm just not a fan of that four-wheel drive and how they've designed it.
And again, this is all, of course, wild speculation.
It could work really well.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know
Right.
until
you get behind the scenes.
I'm just questioning because
they do what Honda does and think outside the box. They can't make everything the same.
right.
Right.
I mean, look at the Pilot. What was that, 35 years ago?
Yeah.
That thing was way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But
Well, and again, I think, the takeaway from what I see in the design is it's not necessarily designed for hardcore racing.
No.
But when you talk about being able to throw that thing in automatic and you've got the automotive style all-wheel drive, you've now opened that market up to somebody who doesn't have to think, oh, it's getting slippery. I need to, lock
put
the
it in
diffs
four-wheel
and I need
drive.
to do this and that. They just mash the gas and they go through the mud hole.
even if you look at Polaris and Can-Am, 5 years ago, the cars that they were building were not set up to go out and thrash out
No.
for hours on end. But now, I mean, you have the X3, and I'm here to tell you can thrash on that car all day long and it won't break. And then you have the XP, the Polaris, like you have.
Yeah.
And they're leaps and bounds of where they were 6 years ago.
I was amazed when I rode with you over in Casey. I mean, that was a mud-heavy, crappy race. That was kind of the worst-case scenario race. Deep ruts, a lot of weight on the car, and it just took it.
Yep. That car's tough. Anytime anyone asks me how that car is, I'm like, this thing can take a beating.
And I don't know if you just got one that, you know how every so often you just get something that's just like it was built well.
Yeah.
By blind luck, Joe there who was
Planks
putting it together-
800.
Yeah. Well, it was until it wasn't. And then
Yeah.
Everything has a point.
I think that some of the cars that come out of the factories seem better than others.
Right.
I've seen it with Polaris and Can-Am, and I've always had the good luck, knock on wood.
I'm inclined to give you a little credit, too. Having a driver that knows, okay, I can flog it, but there's parts where you don't flog it. I mean, there's just some brains
You got to
there.
know when to lift. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like the lift, but
And that's,
you got to know
driving
when.
the course, not the car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
That makes a big difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what brand car you're in at that point. But I mean, you still do have to know the car because, like, your X3 rides lower typically than my XP Turbo.
Yeah.
So when you see these big ruts, I can't just bash it through there. I'm going to have a frame like Devin Smith's.
Or I can.
I mean, you can thrash on it. It's just, with me, it's how much can my body take. I mean, the X3's body out or belly out real easy.
Yeah.
So after about 4 or 5 times of that, like the last lap, I'm not hitting that spot as hard as, unless I somebody's on my tail, then it doesn't matter. I'm going to go as hard as I can.
Right. You'll take that abuse for that little bit to get that spot.
But I mean, you got an hour, and you got to save the car. I don't want to break the car.
Those can be teeth jarring at sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Frame them out. I mean, they can hurt.
If you guys could see the eye roll.
Again, when we were in Casey, at one point,
Dude, there was this
That
long
back stretch.
and it was all mud holes that were like whoops. And I went through it slow once, and then after that, I was like, man, that really sucked. So every
Let's
lap
try and
after
skip
that,
the top.
Yeah, and every time I went through, Doug, I could hear Doug going, "Oh God!"
we got through it about the 4th lap, and Matt looks over at me. He goes, "I'm gonna be peeing blood for a week."
Yeah, that track literally beat me up worse than I've been beat up in a while. And I raced a short course race at the end of the season, and I was pretty beat up after that, but not as bad as that Casey race. I don't know what the deal was, but man, I just felt awful after that race. I think I did pee a little bit of blood. But
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about Honda's, and I'm not saying this disparagingly, but it's a low horsepower offering compared to the rest of the market. It's built the way it is, and it's going to be a great machine for what it is. So let's switch gears though and go ridiculously high horsepower.
So it was actually released, I think it was Saturday night. Evo Powersports built a rear-wheel dyno at 348 horsepower.
So that's
on an X3.
So that's through the transmission. That is through the belt drive. That is at the wheel.
that's incredible horsepower.
That's insane.
I would love to just take a spin in that car just for 5 minutes just to see what that felt like. I mean, I'm sure it just wheelies out of control if it hooks and spins.
Yeah.
What's factory horsepower in that, like out of the box?
172.
Yep. For a Turbo R.
Twice.
It's nearly twice the power, yeah.
They are like 404 at the crank is what they
Well,
say.
and the 172 is at the crank. That's not dyno.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's not
it's
dyno.
about 150.
150 at the
tire.
wheels. Yeah.
So you've moved up over basically 200 horsepower
So it is double the horsepower of the rear wheels.
plus,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
I mean, and your machine is basically, you've upgraded some of the rolling parts, but the motor's box stock 172 horse.
Electronics, motor, everything stock. And
your machine's quick.
It's plenty fast. But I mean, at the beginning of the season, it was fast, and now I'm used to it, and I'm like, I could use a little more. But I don't know whether,
maybe not that
no. 340 horsepower, no.
Well, you're not going to be able to hold together for a race.
I mean, Kyle Chaney would not run away from me in the fields if I had 40 horsepower.
Maybe Kyle Chaney's had one of these this whole time.
You could ramp Kyle Chaney from the back.
I know.
I'm going to need everybody in front of me to have kind of a sloping back end piece on there if I could.
Fastback cages are now a rule.
Oh, man.
No, I think it's it's an exercise in what can be done. Yeah, I don't think it's
a stunt piece, and again, it's not disparaging, but that's what it is. It's a stunt. Look, we were able to make this work.
They want to take a car and see how much they can get out of it.
Right.
Very impressive by them. I mean, hats off to them to be able to do that, because that is impressive. I mean, that is big horsepower, and that is impressive.
And we call it 1,000, but really it's 925 cc's. I mean, everyone wants to split that hair about the Can-Am, but it's less than a liter of displacement. Yes. That kind of power.
I'm sure that car has a little more displacement than the stock.
Yeah, they probably stroked and.
I don't know.
They didn't talk about. They kept talking about turbos and stuff, and they said they built the motor, but they hadn't released any specs on what the actual displacement was. But still,
yeah, I get it. I think it's neat, guys in the dunes, big dunes.
I didn't get to watch the video. So, what RPMs was that car turning when it hit?
I'm wanting to say they're right at 9.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Peak power.
Because mine's like 7,800.
Yeah. They might have only been 80 something. I just saw it and I was trying to watch it and get some info on it.
I'm sure that's light and flywheel, light and crankshaft.
A big overhaul.
In fact, when you watch the video, we'll throw it in here. You won't be able to hear it because we're talking. But once you see it, go ahead and watch it. You hear that thing. They're kind of doing the idle up on the dyno, and they pins it. And it's almost instant. It's just like 3,000, 9,000.
Light switch horsepower.
Yeah.
Definitely not usable for what we do in any shape at all.
No, if you had that in the woods, you'd have the back end ripped off like now.
I don't even think it would be controllable really if there was that much power and it came on that fast.
No,
it would be really cool if you could build something and there was a switch. Like Evo does a tune like that, and it's like, I think it's like 20 or 30 horsepower difference, but it would be cool if you could go from 172 to 340 just by hitting a button. That would be insane, but
I'm just imagining the steering wheel with the 2 buttons. One's for your intercom and one's for 348 horsepower. And you don't want to mix those two up in the corner.
When I was building a lot of ATV race engines, Vortex actually makes a computer that's that way. And what was happening was we were building so much horsepower, you couldn't get you just annihilate the rear wheels on the starting line. So it was a map switch on the handlebars, and you could kill power to do a whole shot. And then after the start, flip the switch back.
That's what I had on my 450.
Yeah.
And you just had to have it because it put so much horsepower to the ground.
You never hooked up.
Couldn't get them to hook up. No matter what tire combination you went with.
Yeah, I don't see me needing that.
It sounds like fun. Since when has need and power been in the same sentence for you?
It's not. I would love to have it, but
it'd be a hoot for just to have it for a half hour and go just absolutely flog that thing in the dunes. But yeah.
So we need to go ride the Talon and that same day for an hour period of time.
The Talon's going to feel like a golf cart.
Honestly, I want to line him up in the sand and do a drag race.
Oh, man. There would not even be
That Evo machine would spin the tires so much it'd dig a hole and suck the Talon into it and bury it as it took off.
Use the Talon as a block to get off the line.
Yeah. No. With my machine, I'm almost 200 horse probably at the crank in my XP Turbo. I'm at the point where I don't need any more. I mean, I'm not racing mine.
I'd like to drive that car just to see the difference between mine and.
You're welcome to.
Because I have it
out right now.
No, not today, but it'd be interesting to just meet and go ride.
Yeah,
I haven't ridden or driven a Razor for a long time.
Yeah,
but it would be interesting to see the difference. Just
having been in both of yours, the power comes on a little differently, but. It's pretty similar in terms of feel because I do remember being really impressed with yours coming out of the woods into a straight, thinking that pushes you back hard in the seat when you get on it. Your Razor is fairly similar. But I've been in some other race razors that actually are slower. By the time you clutch them and you do some other stuff and you start giving up that power again, that's one of the big differences I've noticed between some of the turbo race razors and the race prepped X3s. The X3s don't seem to give up anything.
Yeah.
Any turbo car, especially nowadays, it pulls throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell a little difference from mid to top. I can, but they pull so hard from the bottom to like maybe 75% through the whole pool. And that was one of the things that I had not a hard time getting used to. It was just kind of
different,
mind-blowingly different compared to what I had, how hard the cars pulled. But yeah, it'd be interesting I'm sure your car is way faster on just drag racing than my car. But
might be. I mean,
I would like to see the difference just to see.
Yeah. The way the tune's set up, it's kind of weird. And I like how it is, but you just have to know that it's this way. Up to like 4,000 or 4,500, it feels like a stock razor. And then it hits that and it's just gone.
That's how the X3s are. Like, you can take a naturally aspirated car and it's going to run like a 900. It's going to run with me from 0 to 25.
Yeah.
But after that, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So you get in the short areas where you're kind of in a field or something. Like I ran in that with Jeremiah Braun, like his little 900 XP. And in a little short shoot is just as fast as my car. It's just once I get to spread my legs and go.
Take off, yeah.
Yeah. He's in my dust. But
yeah.
I got a question for Matt, since this is a sport that we're getting a lot more entry-level racers in, and my question to me is everyone thinks horsepower is everything. Like, you've got to build big power, blah, blah. So tell me this. If you have the option between horsepower and suspension, where are you spending your money?
Suspension.
Every time.
For cross-country racing, suspension.
Yeah.
For short course racing, horsepower.
Yes.
Probably.
No.
and like...
I need bunches more money.
I don't know. For me, for cross country, which is what I specialize in, it's always going to be suspension. That car out of the box is plenty fast to a point. And then, like, if I do suspension work, then I'm going to be
you can handle more horsepower.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that the general public, a lot of times when they see the whole race, and they think, I need more horsepower, I need more horsepower, I need more horsepower. And that's not where to spend your money. If you have X amount of budget to spend to go racing next year, and you've got a stock engine that runs good and it's fine, don't spend your money there. Spend it on suspension.
I mean, the last IXCR race of the season, there was a lot of guys there, and there was a lot of cars with big horsepower. I mean, those guys from Iowa showed up, and those guys are all pushing 200 plus horsepower, all E85 cars. And I mean, at the end of the day, where were they? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can have as much horsepower, you can have more than you know what to do with, but I mean, if you don't know where to use it, it doesn't mean much.
Yeah. And you can overpower your suspension too. If you have more power than what your suspension can really put down and handle comfortably, you're going to slide more, you're going to you're going to buck over bumps.
You can't put the power to the ground. There's, it's useless horsepower, really.
We talked about that with the CF Moto when they decided to make their first, the Z-Force 1000. It was the 800 with 1,000 motors stuffed in it.
They didn't change the shocks. They didn't change anything.
So you're stuck with a stock machine with 10 inches of wheel travel-ish and, designed around an 800. And I'm thinking, might be fun for a little bit, but very easy to overdrive that machine.
Yeah. And there wasn't any brakes to begin with on the thing. And
no. We've covered that.
Yeah. Bad brakes never stop me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, for a little bit, then I can keep going.
Details.
Yeah.
You need an anchor to throw out every once in a while.
Oh, it's almost out of frame, but they're right there. That's second place, baby.
That's the only one, and that was a mud race. I did really well in that because I just couldn't get enough speed to get myself in trouble.
That's awesome.
We actually probably would have taken first, but we got hung up bad. But the ruts were so deep from the big machines.
Yeah.
I was high centered.
We were looking, I said, just try and canoe it through there. And we get up over the ruts and it just goes and stops in the middle of them. We kind of lean the machine over Chad's way. His tire on the driver's side is still 3 inches from the bottom. Mine's a foot in the air.
That's awesome.
I'm like, we're not going anywhere, dude. Luckily, some very kindly gentleman helped us winch out.
Yeah.
But we were stuck there for a good 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It felt like an eternity.
5 minutes in a race is forever.
I'll tell you what, getting stuck in a race is like pretty much you're done. If you're there longer than a couple minutes, you're toast. And when you get one of these cars stuck, they're stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's been my experience. I haven't got my X3 stuck yet. But my old cars, I got stuck a handful of times. And when you bury that car, there's 9 times out of 10, you're not getting it out. I mean, it takes a skid steer or a couple side-by-sides or a winch. And who runs a winch? I don't run a winch.
Steve does.
Well, I don't. He must get stuck a lot. Steve.
I used his winch with him 3 times this year.
Oh, my.
That takes time, in case
does.
you didn't know, because I'm unbelting, taking the window net down, climbing out, hooking it up.
Yeah.
Where's the stinking remote?
If I'm getting in a situation where I don't know whether I can make it through, I'm going to pin it. I'm going to go as hard as I can and just hope my momentum carries me through. But
I would say worse than getting stuck is rolling over on your side. I was leading and rolled over on my side.
The razor nap.
Second go by you, which is now first. And, it's like 2 guys. If you're in the right situation, you flip back over. But if you're flipped over on your side,
And like there's any kind of hill or something against you,
not get that.
it takes 3 to flip
Yeah.
something back over.
yeah, if you're in the woods or something, it's a whole other story. Like a field, if it's dry out.
Yeah. But you're in the woods on a slight incline and it's muddy and slippery. You're not
3 to 4 guys.
You're not moving that machine.
Yeah. I've had that. I've got on my side a couple times at races, and it's aggravating because like you want to be able to flip the car over, but
Get back in and go right away.
but you can't. I got in that situation a couple years ago at IXCR, and me and Jack Ingram were racing, and we got on our side, and I was like, I'm gonna get out. I'm gonna push it over, and I couldn't get it pushed over, so he got out, which was a whole ordeal because he'd never ridden in one of these cars, didn't know much about buckling in, buckling out. So we finally got it flipped over, and I was like, sweet. I was like, get in the car, get buckled up. We get in the car, get buckled up, hit the starter button. It is dead. Car is completely dead. I was like, man.
Did it pop the battery
By the
off?
time all that happened and we finally got the car going, we had been lapped by the leader. And we were leading the race when it
That's
happened.
the worst.
I know. I was like, well, let's just finish it up.
Yeah, at that point you just, okay, we're just going to get what we get and we're going to finish and that's that. And
Yeah. The funniest thing about that whole race was Jack, blooper dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to come to all the races and he used to do all my video work, but that was the first race he'd ever raced in a side-by-side, and he was all gung-ho about it. And I was like, do you got some roll-off goggles? He's like, no, I don't use roll-off goggles. I've never used them. I raced bikes my whole life. And within the first half a lap, Jack has his goggles off. And we get done with the race, and all you could see was the whites of his eyes. Literally, I have never laughed that hard, and I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "My eyes hurt."
Yep, they will.
I got a picture of me and him at the house, and all you can see is just the opening right here, and it's just black dirt from IXCR,
Yeah.
from Badlands.
You're going to have to send me that picture because we're going to have to put that in here now.
I'll get it.
I'm a big fan of roll-offs. That's why I don't understand. Well, I kind of do, but like Lucas Oil on their short course, they require a face shield, like a full
All those
face shield.
they sell roll off systems for those.
Yeah.
Like Mud Muncher has that one.
But even
which
if
is
you look
the
at a
best
bunch of
one.
those guys, they don't run them. They run tear-off still,
Yeah.
which is crazy.
I run, so if it's a real muddy race, all my goggles are set up with tear-offs over the roll-offs.
Yeah.
So I'll always start with tear-offs over 'em to get through the beginning where it's all packed. And then once the tear-offs are gone, then, I got a full field of vision for a few minutes. And then it's back to roll-offs.
Yeah.
But
I'm a big fan of
that's been
roll-offs.
my
You just need
experience.
3 or 4 tear-offs to get out in front, and then you don't have to worry about it, right?
Yeah, well, yeah. That helps.
The mud of the course will get you too. I've been out front.
Oh, yeah.
I've been out front thinking, we got a good lead, everything's fine, and you get thin on tires. Like, it's okay, it's no big deal. But next thing you know, you hit that one water hole, the spray of the tires gets you. You can be out front and still have to deal with.
I'll slow down every time if it's deep water. I don't care. Like if somebody's behind me, it's one thing. But even then, I try to keep my hands dry and I try to keep my goggles dry. That's like the biggest thing for me.
I have that same plan going in, but I generally don't execute well.
I can't. Doug and I raced together, and that race had those 2 creek crossings, and I'll slow down. I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll get somebody back somewhere else, but you got to see, and you got to be able to hold on the steering wheel.
Yep.
Those are the 2
Yeah.
biggest
I
things
get it.
about racing.
Well, even Steve talked about that when he was racing with Cam.
Yeah.
Cam was getting a little anxious because, he wanted to pass this guy. And so, because Cam races.
Yeah.
And so he wants to pass this guy, and Steve knows he can't get around him in that area. And if they get up close to put themselves, to try and pass, they're just going to be eating roost and everything else. And so he tells me, he said, look, we're going to back off a little bit. We're going to chase this guy for a little bit. I've seen the way he drives. He's probably going to screw up and give us a chance. And sure enough, a half, 3/4 of a lap later, the guy screwed up. They went right on by. And in the meantime, they didn't go through half their roll-offs, just eat and roost for no reason.
Sometimes the best thing you can do to somebody is just apply some pressure. They're going to make a mistake. I've only raced against a handful of guys that under pressure, they're not going to make a mistake. A lot of those guys, you get behind them, and if you just let them know you're there every once in a while, they're going to try to drive a lot faster than they usually are, and they're going to mess up. They're going to wreck or break or something.
Well, and I like how you apply that pressure too, because you don't hit people. All you got to do is show them, peek out behind and show them that tire, let them know you're there.
I'm not a fan of hitting people. I don't like breaking my car, and I don't, I'm not out there to hit cars. Some of these guys get caught up in this whole situation where like somebody's slow in front of you, they're going to just ram them. And if I get in that, if there's somebody that fast behind me, I'll get out of their way. But I don't run into that a whole lot anymore, but I'm never going to hit anybody. If I bump you, it's because I made a mistake or somebody behind me hit me. And it's usually on a start. And other than that, I don't need to hit anybody, but I mean, I went through that stage where I drove into people and hit them on purpose and stuff. But
you can apply that pressure and make them make that mistake without tapping and hitting. And because you don't have to do that.
I like the guys that have the mirrors because I love getting behind them because you see them doing this.
Yeah, you can see their eyes when they come up.
And I'm like, watch the trail, and I'll slow down. If they're doing it in the woods, I'm like, I'll back way off because I'm like, they're going to hit something.
And then it'll eat you up too if you're not far enough back to get around them.
Yeah. Yep. And I have a mirror in my car, but when I race, I tilt it up. And then if I'm in a straightaway, I'll reach up there and look for a second, and then I tilt it back up because you get caught up in that game of
watching
the mirror instead of what's going on in front of you.
Wait, you're racing the guy instead of racing the track.
Yeah. You want to race ahead, not behind. That's an old thing, even when racing, dirt bikes and stuff. And that's the best thing for Cam is to ride the guy like Steve. Steve is a very intelligent racer. Cam's a heck of a driver, but he needs a little bit of that more reserved driving. And that's the best thing Cam can do is to keep getting into cars with guys like Steve and guys like Matt that let him in and ride. That he needs that. He'll be even a better racer.
Yep.
It's interesting to see some of these young kids coming into the racing side by sides. I went down and raced short course with
Gregory Sharp.
Mm-hmm.
Cool little dude. I think he's like 13.
Yeah.
And he pulled up beside me, and he's like, "You ready to race? Saved you a parking spot." Him and his dad are the nicest people I've ever met. And they were really nice to us when we came down there, welcoming.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a really good driver in a few years.
That's one thing that I talked to Chad about too, and the Mapes family is the same way. Very, very welcoming, very great family, very friendly. But I think these series need to be more open to let these young kids come race.
Well, let's jump over to AXCC, the new series that's coming out there. It's going to be centered in Iowa, but you're going to be up into Texas and Illinois and kind of that region over there. They actually are going to have a 170 class that's for 13 to
16
or something like
that.
A
170 class for a 16-year-old.
Yeah, can you imagine that?
So when I was in Kentucky at Dirty Turtle when I did the short course race, they have a 170 class, and so our lap times were like 42 seconds to a minute, give or take. These 170s were like 5-minute lap or something. And these kids, it was the same deal. It was like anywhere from 9 to 13 or 14, these kids. But I just felt bad because I was like, they want to go faster, but they just can't.
Okay, so just so that we don't misrepresent here, I got the rules up. Stock 170cc or stock Ace 150 is 9 to 13-year-olds. And then they've got a 570cc novice that's from 14 to 17. So
you can run a 570 Razor.
Yeah.
That's not horrible.
Yeah, it's better.
But it's they're the first series that's had a dedicated youth segment that didn't just say you're not 18, you can't drive.
So they running all those young kids in the same time period? Or
I don't know. I didn't
surely
see.
Not.
They haven't come out with their full set of rules yet necessarily or schedule.
I don't think so because the 170 is a 2-wheel drive machine. Yeah. The small racers.
They're gonna be racing around the field and stuff. Where they're gonna get
the 570 you can actually get out and tackle a few hills. It's 4-wheel drive. I mean
that's great. It's a great start. It really is. But they need more like a pro kit or a pro light kit or something like that, where the kid can at least maybe get into a 900 XP that he's required a year's worth of racing experience or something like that. But a kid like Cam, I'd put him up against. He's not a dangerous driver at all.
I don't see why they can't do it. Best in the Desert does it. I mean, Robbie Gordon's son was racing when he was 8. He was running Parker at 8 years old. The time I raced out there. And
you come from the motocross side of industry. Racing things like these things roll cage and seatbelts. It's a little tougher to get hurt in these than it is just fall off it, a dirt bike or an ATV.
Yeah, if you're willing to let a 15-year-old go out, because once you're 15 in cross country, you can be in an adult race. So you can be racing a full race built, TRX 450.
Yeah.
No cage, no nothing, at speed through the woods, but you're not okay to drive a side by side. Now, I get the stakes. It's a bigger, heavier machine, yada, yada, yada. But with all the rules they have now where they're trying to keep spectators out of the woods and they're trying to keep the spectators away, really the only danger is to you or other drivers. And I've yet to see a side-by-side to side-by-side collision at race speeds that's endangered anybody's life. Because typically, that X3 is capable of going 80 miles an hour. You're not doing that in the woods. No. If you're getting in a collision, it might be at 25 miles an hour.
How many times have you been to a side-by-side race and seen them lifeline somebody out of it?
Yeah, a side-by-side, never.
Never.
That's one of the things that
ATV dirt bike,
one of the things that irked me about GNCC dropping it, which there's other things, but no one ever got hurt at a side-by-side race.
No.
I mean, there were some people that had close calls. I know that there was a photographer lady that got hurt on the start, which GNCC should have known not to have those people in those areas for the starts of the side-by-side races. That's just common sense. But no one has ever been hurt.
A racer hurt.
A racer or a spectator, that, to my knowledge. I mean, I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, you can call me out. But I mean, it's one of those things, like, I never understood why they pulled all the spectators off the course for those races. I think that GNCC was just kind of looking for a reason to get out of side-by-sides.
Well, they got those electric mountain bike races now. Doesn't that sound thrilling?
Okay. If you haven't heard the news already, that's what the replacement is for UTVs, is mountain bike races.
Electric mountain bike races.
Electric mountain bike races.
Whatever.
Now, does the bike have to be electric or the person riding it? Is this androids? Are we not doing human competition anymore?
No, it's for humans. It's for all those tree-hugging, granola-eating hippies.
Oh, man.
Wow. There goes that one person who is listening to our show.
I think GNCC is gearing towards bikes.
Yeah, they are.
Everything bikes. And, I mean, the four-wheelers have kind of been on a decline for a while. I mean, you can just look at the numbers. And there's not a company that's manufacturing any new four-wheelers except Yamaha. Are they the only company? And that's because they probably sponsor Walker Fowler.
Yeah.
And some of the motocross guys.
And we're not trying to disparage the sport. It's just the trend that's been set right now. I mean,
and then the ATV side of that, most of these, on the motocross side of ATVs, most of these local tracks don't even let them on there no more because they blow off too much dirt and tear up the track. There's no rush for the bike guys. The bike guys have the numbers, and that's what these guys are catering to. It's just that simple.
Oh yeah, on average, it's about 2 to 1 bikes to ATVs.
If not more than that. Sometimes,
Yeah.
Bikes are never going anywhere.
Yeah.
They're always going to be there, no matter what the sport is, what they're racing. Bikes are always going to be there.
I'm kind of surprised side-by-sides have gone down. I mean, I know that they have, and I see it, but I wouldn't think that they would.
I don't think that the side-by-side thing is probably going to last as long as they continue making faster cars. I think we're kind of getting to our limit where the manufacturer is going to say this is as fast as we're going to go because it turns into a huge liability for them.
Right. I mean, at what point do they just turn any old buddy loose on 250 horsepower
I was
machine?
talking to my uncle out in Vegas, and he's like, you might as well have a race car, like a real car or a truck or something like that, because he's like, that's what you got now.
Well, and like we've talked about, you can't really use much more horsepower than what they have now. I mean, like you said, you're at a point where you could use a little more, but a little more might be taking you from 172 at the crank to 210 at the crank. You're not talking 300-400.
No.
In the early 2000s, the manufacturers got together and they said these machines, these ATVs, these are back when ATVs were going, from a 400 to a 500 to a 600 to a 700.
They capped it at 450.
They capped it at 700 and 500 pounds. And the Honda Rincon, which was a 680cc, weighed 499 pounds. The receiver hitch was an accessory because it put it over 500 pounds.
Click.
Since then, it's been out the window. They don't.
The key is an accessory. That 1 gram put us over.
Yeah. Well, they didn't want to get into the same situation they got into back when ATVs were 3-wheel, where they were talking about horsepower to weight and the fact that they were tippy because they were a 3-wheeled vehicle. And all of a sudden, all this government regulation came in, and then there was nothing for about a decade. It was like the lost decade of motorsport.
So I foresee it too coming to the point where you're right, where this is what it's going to be, and it's just going to be suspension and creature comforts, and
it seems like the 1,000cc mark is the mark.
Yeah,
and it's never gonna. It may get bigger than that later on, but the only thing they can do is just get more power out of what they have.
Yeah, so far I haven't heard any rumblings about somebody coming out with a 1200 or anything.
No. Well, and Cody watches the auctions, the wrecks, as much as I do, probably, or more. And the new machines. What's the low mileage new machines you always see wrecked? High horsepower ones.
Every time.
Because somebody with more money than driving skill gets out there and I want the biggest, baddest thing, and they can't handle it.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the salesmen at the dealerships. I mean, even though our local dealerships, not saying anything bad about anybody, but the salesmen a lot of times are misleading. I always say when someone asks my opinion and the salesman at the dealership gives them something else, I say just ask that salesman how many miles he has in the seat of one of these things.
Yeah.
How many miles has he rode one of these things? Is he really giving you valid information?
Well, they want to sell the most expensive thing that they have.
And that's what they're shooting for.
I do the same thing. I'm big into camping, and I'm also big into safe towing. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen you go to a camper place and they're, I don't know if I can tow this. The dry weight's 6,800, and they're like, well, what's your truck supposed to tow?
It's an S10.
It'll tow 7,500. They're like, oh, you're fine. Well, the 7,500 is the trailer. The stuff in the trailer, your body's in the cab of the truck. I mean, it's all that. And so these people go out way overloaded because the salesman's like, oh, you're 300 pounds under. You should be fine.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Doug's into spending money and living like a homeless person.
Yes. I spend money and live like a homeless person anyway, so I might as well have some fun with it. But these are the people who you see going down the road and the trailer's doing this behind them.
Oh, yeah, those are my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I'm just going to hurry up and pass this person.
Now, I have a rule of thumb. Behind you, they're a threat. In front of you, they're entertainment. Stay back and watch.
Exactly.
We built the Taj Mahal.
I saw that.
Yeah, buddy.
We wanted a trailer that would hold 2 machines, and that's tough to get. Any
that
kind
and
of
living quarters.
Any kind of living at all in that.
Because you've got to have basically 21 foot if you really cram them in there.
That is like bumper to bumper. Nothing.
And
21 foot 9 inches, and it's still tight. Like,
yeah.
You can't walk around the front or the back of them.
Yeah. Or you got to stand them up a little bit. Do ramps.
Yeah, you could just tow them like they used to. If you had 2 ATVs in the bed of your truck, you'd stand them up wheel to wheel like that. Yeah, just do that.
How long a trailer did you guys use?
It's 40 foot of flat floor that we put a dividing wall in the middle of.
So you needed 20. How many feet did you have for the garage?
We have 21 foot 9 inches of garage.
Oh, so
they are in there.
Yes, that is exactly all it would. And we wanted as much living as we possibly could get.
Right.
It would have been nicer to have a little bit of room to be able to walk around the front of them because they're both in there and you need to get something out of it.
You're crawling on tires.
I did. I crawled on the tires.
When you're
the bumper to the other tire.
You're really locked into the Razor camp now too, because
I don't think you'll fit 2 X3s.
No, you will not.
Just leave the gate down.
How long are
fine.
the X3s?
You need 22 feet for 11 feet. You need an 11-foot trailer. Yeah. So to fit a car on there and shut the gate. I have a 10-foot trailer.
But you know what?
And mine fits without the gate, but the back tire is like
kind of
half on, half off.
That's a bumper. If somebody hits you from behind, they just hit that nice cushy rubber.
When we first started looking at it, I was like, we only need 20 foot because I haul on a 20-foot car trailer all the time. You don't realize how much hangs over in the front and how much actually hangs over in the back. They fit perfect on a 20-foot car trailer. You know?
So you've got enough room for 2 Razors or 1 X3 Max.
That's right.
Just about perfect for that.
Those are the short bus of side-by-sides.
Those things are like 16 feet long or something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's ridiculous. So,
well, do you have trivia for us?
I have trivia for
we
all
amazingly have smoked through probably 45 minutes or more at this point.
I'm sorry.
I don't care. We have... The show is an hour-ish. So that's anywhere between 1 hour and 1 minute and 1 hour and 59 minutes.
Okay, because of how we're sitting right now, what? Cody answer first, then Matt, and then Doug. On all these trivia questions. This is your first time ever doing this. Cody has done
See,
it.
I get home field
I was
advantage.
working on some trivia because I was like, I'm never going to get his trivia.
No, I don't feel bad. I think the most I've ever got was a half a point out of 10. So
We give partial points.
Yeah.
Basically, they're pity points.
And it's totally at Chad's discretion.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Y'all are in trouble. All right. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Question number 1. Walt Disney, the owner of Disney. the
Oh,
actual
that's who
person.
that is?
Yes. I'm
Okay.
saying the actual person, not the company.
okay.
So Walt Disney every year gave his housekeeper the same thing for Christmas. What did he give her?
I watched that documentary not too
I'm
long
gonna
ago.
go with
I
one of those like globes that got the Disney character, and they shake it up and
The little snow globes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly do not know. I'll just say a cash bonus.
Cash bonus. Okay.
I don't know either, but some undefined amount of stock in Walt Disney.
You are correct. He gave her stock. When she retired at 70, she was a multi-millionaire because of it.
That's awesome.
Dang it.
Wow. You want a little bonus question about that?
Sure.
What motorsports company does Walt Disney own?
Oh, I know this. They're in with Dale Earnhardt.
Monster Jam.
Is it Monster Jam?
Yeah. Walt Disney owns Monster Jam. It's a pure entertainment thing. They own all the trucks. It's a total staged deal.
It's like pro wrestling.
Yes.
I was going to say, GM Racing, because that truly is a Mickey Mouse outfit.
All right. Question number 2. King Henry VIII had 4 men with specific jobs. What were their jobs?
All 4 jobs?
No, one job.
Oh.
All 4 did
the
one
same
job.
job.
Okay.
And these are the only ones who didn't do anything else for him.
I'm going to say cooked.
Cooked,
Cleaning.
cleaning.
Got rid of his wives.
No, they were known as grooms of the stool, and they wiped his butt.
I almost got
Grooms of
that.
the stool.
I was going to say that, but I didn't know the right way to convey that answer.
Just like I just did, it's fine.
Well, Henry VIII was the one that famously had, wife after wife after wife. So
Yeah.
I figured he had a crew that just all right, go bury this one.
Disposal.
Another accident.
Wife disposal number 7, or whatever, yeah. All right. Okay, question number 3. About 40 years ago, there was a burglary at the Delaware FBI office, and there were stolen classified documents and secrets and all that. How did the thieves get in to this Delaware FBI office?
Like what method of entrance did they use?
Yeah. How are they able to gain access to the building?
This is 40 years ago?
About 40 years ago, yeah.
I'm going to say back then it was probably advanced, but probably like a little credit card swipe where you put in the door and pull out.
Like they faked the reader
Yes.
out? Okay.
I bet I'm going to say tunneled in.
Okay.
They shipped themselves in.
No, they actually left a note on the door that just said, "Please do not lock this tonight," and no one even questioned it.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
They even said, "Please do not lock this door tonight."
it would probably still work today, is the sad thing.
Not wrong.
Humans are always the weak link in any system.
Yeah,
Please
they
do
are.
In fact, in the 1970s, pretty recently, there was the whole missile scare where some guy in Hawaii, clicked the wrong button.
It's a real one. Go.
Well, that actually happened back in the 1970s during the Cold War. Some guy basically shoved the wrong tape into the machine, and so all the radio stations got the teletype out that said at the top, "This is not a drill. There is a real imminent nuclear threat." Something like 70% of the radio and TV stations said it's still a fake, and they didn't do it. So had it actually been an attack, virtually nobody would have known.
It's fine. They'd be dead in a few minutes anyway.
Yeah.
Why spend the last few minutes of your life in panic?
Yeah. So the weak link is always people.
Yeah.
If you're going to hack something, people are way easier than computers.
Well, there was it's been about 10 years ago now. The big thing going around was cyber criminals would drop a flash drive in the parking lot, a thumb drive, and people, oh, look, a free thumb drive in the
Plug
parking
that
lot.
into my computer.
Plug that into my laptop and whatever. And it downloads viruses and keystroke loggers and everything else. People.
People.
All right.
Easy.
Question number 4. What company introduced the first transistor-based hearing aid?
I have no idea at all.
Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
I'm out on this one. I don't even know who to guess.
Okay.
That actually was my guess.
You gonna guess Johnson & Johnson?
Yep.
Nope. It is Zenith.
Zenith.
Zenith made hearing aids?
Yep. In 1939, they made the first transistor-based one. It weighed 5.5 pounds.
What? Where do you put that? Put it on your shoulder?
It was like a little metal purse that hung there,
my
and it ran a
God.
wire up to their ear.
Imagine if you had to have 2 of those. Like, man.
What had happened was the president of Zenith had to have hearing aids, and before he became the president, he had them, and they were like $600 or $700, which in the 30s is an immense amount of money. I mean, it's
Buy
still
a
not
car.
cheap.
Yeah.
So he was like, "How can we make a whole radio for like $30 and not, be able to make a hearing aid, which is essentially just part of a radio?"
Yeah.
And so they did. And they came in right around like the $30 or $40 mark. They were slightly higher than a normal radio. But
Well, the telephone was supposed to be a hearing aid and became something else entirely. So,
all right, question number 5. What items of equipment are made by a Fletcher? So a Fletcher is a job title.
Items of the equipment?
Yeah, what would a Fletcher make? If you had a job title of a Fletcher,
like if you were a blacksmith, you make iron stuff.
horseshoes and stuffs.
An arrow.
Okay.
I'm going to go with furniture.
Specifically, they did the fletching on the end of the arrow where they put the feathers in to keep the arrow stabilized.
It is just an arrow. Matt got it. See? It's just an arrow.
That's what you get for trying to steal my answer.
He stole Johnson & Johnson, too. You see that? All right. Question number 6. How many planets in our solar system...
Solar system?
Words are hard. How many planets in our solar system have moons?
3.
2.
I want to say... Okay, so sorry, I'm going to work this out in my head. Mars, Earth, Saturn, Jupiter... I'm going to say 5.
It is 6. I didn't get them all wrote down. I should have, now that I think about it. But I don't know which one you're missing. I think Venus... Does Venus have moons?
I don't think Venus does. It's one of the... It's Neptune. It's one of the further out ones.
Yeah. No one got it. Doug doesn't even get partial internet points.
Almost
Closer than y'all.
Yeah.
Question number 7. How many spikes are on the crown of the Statue of Liberty?
5.
I want to say 7.
Okay.
All of them.
All of
That
them.
doesn't count.
13.
Raul gets it. 7.
7.
You're an American, you two. Russians? Stinking Russians. All
I
right.
had to think about that one for a second because I was like,
They stand for something.
Well, I didn't
don't
want
know
to
all the
steal
things.
his answer.
Yeah.
Even though I'm
yeah.
actually correct. If you look it up, I'm correct on the Fletcher one.
Well,
It was a specific job.
might have used to have been, but it's not anymore.
Well,
he didn't ask what the job was. He asked what
That's-
they went to. Yeah.
That's what they make. Maybe it's gotten less specific, but it used to be specifically that's what they did.
Anyway,
Did you grow up with Robin Hood or something?
I did.
he's Little John.
John.
All
Right,
right.
Friar Tut, keep moving.
Question number 8. A group of lions is called a what?
Pride.
Pack.
Pride.
It is a pride. What are you not doing so hot, buddy?
It's not my thing.
Random trivia that I just find
Yeah, nope.
not your thing.
Don't watch
Belt
Jeopardy
diameter
every night.
of a Razor 800. No.
I bet we get that. Okay, question number 9. In the film industry, what is the primary job of a Foley artist?
A Foley artist?
Foley artist. Foley.
Okay.
Just one L, but
Makeup.
okay.
I don't know. You got me on that one. Costumes.
Okay.
I'll go landscaping.
Nope, they add sound effects into things.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that's what they were called.
Yes, they're called a
So
Foley
the
artist.
videos when there's like 4-stroke motorcycles and 2-stroke noises, like,
And it sounds
Yes.
like a
Or my personal favorite, when they're shooting an automatic weapon, it runs out of bullets and it keeps going click, 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 click as they're holding the trigger.
yeah. That doesn't work. That's not how those things work.
Did you ever watch Sons of Anarchy? Every time they'd light a cigarette, it was with a regular lighter, but it always sounded like
Zippo.
a Zippo.
Shit.
Yeah, I was like, what the heck?
That's not how that works. Maybe the person who's filming this is deaf and doesn't get it, but
I don't know. I don't know how that got by for like 8 seasons or whatever it was.
Ching.
Yeah.
That's like a 12 gauge shotgun. That's a very distinctive sound.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, question number 10, last one. What future star's neck is broken by Bruce Lee in the cave fight in the movie Enter the Dragon?
That's a good one.
I have zero idea.
No guess?
No
Is it
guess.
Chuck Norris?
Okay, that's your guess. I'm not telling you yet.
Enter the Dragon?
Yeah. The old Bruce Lee movie.
It wasn't him. It was.
Whoa. Hi, microphone.
Sorry.
Jean-Claude Van Damme.
You still going with...
I'll go with it, but I know it's not right, is it?
Well, that's what you're going with?
Yeah.
It is Jackie Chan.
He's older than most people think.
Oh, he
He's been
is.
around a long time.
Yeah. If you've ever watched any of the things on Jackie Chan, he's broken like all the bones in his body 300 times. It's bad.
Sometime in the future, his body will be exhumed for some reason, and historians will be like, what happened to this man?
He was clearly beaten to death and then resurrected and then beaten to death a few more times.
They put like him and Travis Pastrana next to
Oh,
each
yeah.
other.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they won't know who it is.
That would be a good podcast. Get the two of them in a room and just like, oh yeah, they're rolling up their, showing scars. And see how this hand's frozen like that?
Oh, not right.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Did anyone see where Travis backflipped a 250R three-wheeler the other day at one of his shows? Yeah.
I did not see that.
That had to be a sketchy landing.
That's what I like. The whole backflip thing probably is that down, but the whole landing that situation would be a little different.
Because if you land a little bit off to that side,
Oh yeah, there's no.
it's just
yeah.
gonna like tuck that front wheel around, and it's not a good thing.
I don't
Yeah.
even think it was something he had planned. Like, I think it was a deal like someone brought one to the show and was
Like,
challenging him to
backflip
backflip this.
This
and
is
he just
purely
like,
a
okay.
This is purely a hey y'all watch this moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just like that in all of his videos now they just talk about him being old and slow. Well, Travis isn't as fast as he used to be.
That guy's been through a lot.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yes.
Have you ever seen his documentary?
109 Lives, yeah.
That is the greatest documentary.
It's a pretty good
They're
one.
working on another one right now.
Are they?
Yeah.
That's cool.
99 more. All right, you've got one thing on the stupid stuff with Chad list, and it says Chad and his
No,
family moved south. In parentheses, trailer park.
Because this is a true story. So when my family, we used to live up in northern Indiana. You know this. Most everybody who's listened for any length of time. We were moving back down here because this was family land and homestead land from forever ago. We still have the sheepskin deed. It's on like a sheepskin.
That's cool.
So we were getting ready to build my parents' house, and I was just out of high school and everything else. So my parents, we live out in the sticks. There's no place to like rent out there, and we didn't want to be 30 minutes from the house trying to build doing that. So we're like, we'll just get a bunch of like trailers, like campers and stuff like that. So my parents bought this 36-foot camper, and my sister was in this pop-up, and my grandpa was in this like 21-foot trailer. So it was fine when it was the fall and the weather's nice. We went into winter building too. So we built the shop, the pole barn first, and then we ended up moving all the campers in there to try and do that. So we had our own little trailer park, and it was quite interesting because campers don't have like a real stove or oven that you can use to cook. So my mom's like learning how to cook everything on the grill. If it's like lasagna, it's grilled lasagna now. And the beds in the camper part where I was pretty janky. I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week the bed would collapse, and I'd just end up on the floor in the middle of the night. And my grandpa was elderly. At the time, he was probably mid-80s. He didn't want to get up to go to the bathroom, so he just had like this 1-gallon milk jug that was his porta bathroom. My dad would yell at him, "Empty that! It's starting to smell." It really was our own trailer park.
Well, and I've talked to your mom about this a couple different times. Her full-time job was literally just trying to cook and keep clothes clean.
Yeah.
That's it. Because, again, especially before you even had the pole barn up, you're washing clothes by hand, and there's no second-day wear when you're doing construction. I mean, you're coming in,
Not
you're
in the mud
muddy.
and everything else.
So her full-time job was like back to the old Conestoga wagon days of, making food and doing laundry.
Yeah.
It was worth the misery, though, because it looks nice now. I was there earlier today. So
Yeah,
it
definitely a
was.
nice place.
Me and my dad moved in like 2 weeks before anyone else because we were tired of being in the trailers. We're like, there's carpet down. I'm sleeping in there. I don't care if there's no trim and I don't have my bed unpacked or anything. sleeping on the floor. I don't care.
Well, and I love your dad's brutal honesty about the whole situation, because he did that. A lot of people go, man, he must have saved a fortune by doing that himself. No. He didn't work for over 6 months. And because he's self-employed in the body industry, they moved down here. They lost all their clientele they had up north. So he had a 6-month lag of not building clientele. So he goes, I didn't save anything by doing this myself. He goes, I just wanted to do it. It was just
an adventure.
Exactly. It was just something I wanted to do, so I got it done.
My family does adventure things sometimes, not like smart things. And that's why we have a crane and a bulldozer.
You guys are the epitome of the road less traveled.
Yeah. We could hire someone to come dredge the lake, or we can buy our own crane.
Sometimes that road is less traveled for a reason.
Yes. I'm not saying it's the best way to do it, but I now know how to work a crane.
It's a way. So. I've learned a lot from you, sometimes by watching and thinking I should do that, and sometimes by watching and thinking
shouldn't do that.
I should never do that.
I'll always be an example, sometimes not a good one.
Well, we're going to put a bow on this thing. I don't know how long it's gone, and I don't care.
It doesn't
It's the inaugural episode, and we're having fun.
We have gone to the length we're going.
But we do want to say a big thank you to all of our sponsors. Of course, Watch Communications. They have signed back up for another year of whatever this thing is. They are still hosting the website. And they are hosting the podcast as well. And they have actually re-upped the code. You can still do the 1 month of hosting. There's going to be a expansion to that fairly soon.
Ooh, an expansion pack.
An even sweeter deal. But for right now, the code still stands. If you want 1 month of free hosting for your website, just go to watchcom, that's COMM.net. And put in the code Waste of Time. And it's all lowercase with no spaces, and that'll get you 1 month of free hosting.
Is the expansion like where they don't have to admit that they listen to us or know us, and they can still get the discount?
No.
Okay.
But I can't talk about it yet because it's internal secret squirrel corporate-y stuff. But it's a very good thing.
Okay.
It's just not there yet.
Not
where
public.
They can talk about it.
Good enough.
And from there on out,
all the normal ones.
All the normal ones for now. Okay, we're in the midst of doing some shuffling,
talkings.
But for the sake of, who we've had in the past, and they've gotten us to the point where we are now in our own studio, we really appreciate everybody who sponsored us, including TGM Off-Road, UTV-Doors.com, UTV Engineering, Cody from CW Motorsports, Spangs Fab, and of course, Harrison Powersports up there in Harrison, Michigan. You can find us on the web at eminentperformance.com and also on Facebook /Eminent Racing and on Instagram at Eminent Racing. And you can find the video version of this show on YouTube. Just look for Eminent Performance or Eminent Waste of Time. And you can find the audio version by searching the same thing on pardon me, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and Stitcher.
Get y'all choked up there.
It did.
It hits me right in the feels.
It's been so great.
It's been something. On to season 2. Let's see what else we can mess up.
The sky's the limit, especially for some of the stuff we have planned.
All I need is more resources, and I can mess up all kinds of stuff.
Alrighty, everybody. No matter where you've moved your show to, thanks for riding along with us.
Thanks, guys.
Tired of going down, tired of myself, tired of this town.